Hello and welcome viewers, I'm Pia and you're watching Primetime Asia on NewsX World. And on that note, let's take a look at the headlines this hour. China has issued a stern warning to Japan over Prime Minister Sanae Takeichi's remarks on Taiwan, calling them erroneous and claiming that they have fundamentally damaged Sino-Japanese relations. Beijing is demanding Japan retract the comments and take corrective action. Sajeeb Wazed, son of ousted Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, has blamed the previous US administration of Joe Biden for spending millions on a regime change in the country. He's further claimed that under President Trump, US policy has shifted significantly. India's Supreme Court has granted the Commission for Air Quality Management the authority to take any proactive measure to tackle air pollution in Delhi NCR. The court's decision follows the CAQM's proposal to implement advanced GRAP 4 restrictions during the current GRAP 3 stage. Massive fire in Oita in Japan has caused extensive damage, destroying at least 170 buildings and forcing evacuations. The blaze, described as the size of 7 football fields, is Japan's largest urban fire in nearly 5 decades, with 1 confirmed death. Torrential rains in central Vietnam have caused deadly floods and landslides, claiming at least 8 lives since the weekend. The heavy rainfall exceeds 1,100 millimeters and has also disrupted the coffee harvest in the region. An oil tanker seized by Iran's Revolutionary Guards Corps last week has been released with all 21 crew members confirmed safe. The tanker, the Lara, was freed on the 19th of November after being detained for carrying unauthorized cargo while en route from the UAE to Singapore. US President Donald Trump has stated that the United States and Iran will probably end up making a deal. Trump has offered no timeline but suggested that both sides may eventually return to the negotiating table. According to Ukrainian authorities, the death toll from the Russian strike on Ternopil, a city in western Ukraine, has now risen to 19. The munitions had struck 2 9-story residential buildings. Well, viewers, those are the headlines and our top focus. China has now threatened severe countermeasures against Japan if it does not retract what it terms as wrongful remarks made by Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takeichi regarding Taiwan. Beijing claims these remarks undermine the political foundation of Sino-Japanese relations. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning has condemned Takeichi's comments, stating that Japan's stance on Taiwan could trigger serious consequences. Listen in.
我想强调的是，日本首相高市早苗的涉台错误言论，从根本上损害了中日关系的政治基础，激起了中国人民的公愤和谴责。中方严肃敦促日方收回错误言论，停止在涉华问题上制造事端，以实际行动认错纠偏，维护中日关系的政治基础。 如果日方拒不撤回，甚至一错再错，中方将不得不采取严厉坚决的反制措施。据我了解，日方此前承诺履行输华水产品的监管责任，保障产品质量安全，这是日本水产品输华的先决条件。但是日方目前未能提供所承诺的技术材料。 我还想强调的是，近期由于日本首相高市早苗倒行逆施，在台湾等重大问题上错误言论，引起中国民众的强烈公愤。当前形势下，即使日本水产品向中国出。
Meanwhile, a survey by Chinese media has found that a majority of global respondents viewed Takeichi's remarks as a dangerous pretext for Japan's military expansion. Now, post this report, the spokeswoman for the State Council Taiwan Affairs Office has reacted in the following manner.
这份民调的结果表明，历史不会被遗忘，更不会被篡改。日本首相高市早苗公然抛出涉台挑衅言论，妄图介入台海局势，否定抗战胜利成果，为军国主义招魂，是对国际正义的践踏，对战后国际秩序的挑衅。 对中日关系的严重破坏，不得不令国际社会强烈质疑和 和担忧。台湾方必须再次强调，台湾问题是中国的内政，不容任何外来干涉。日方应立即停止干涉中国内政，停止挑衅越线，不要在错误的道路上越走越远。
Joining us on the broadcast is Mr. Andrew K.P. Leung. He is a strategist focusing on China. Thank you so much, sir, for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. We've, of course, heard what the Chinese spokesperson has had to say. China has issued a stern warning to Japan over Sanai Takeichi's remarks. They'd already termed them as erroneous, but now they've gone on to state that these have fundamentally damaged Sino-Japanese relations, and Beijing is also demanding Japan to retract the comments that were made by Takeichi. In your assessment, will Takeichi back down or will she stand her ground?
Well, of course, Japan is unlikely to back down. But of course, the Taiwan issue is the reddest of the red lines as far as the Chinese government is concerned, because the reunification by peaceful means, preferably, is on the very top of China's national agenda, is part of China's trajectory towards its national renaissance. The idea is that at the latest, this Taiwan question has been dragging on, drifting along for so long, it's not allowed to continue to drag on indefinitely and veering towards independence, because Taiwan has never been a separate country. It's always been part of China. And then, of course, there is one China policy, also adopted by the United States since the President Nixon's early visit to the PRC. And of course, it is supported by the entire Chinese population. However, the new Japanese Prime Minister is known to be a Japan nationalist and sort of revisionist. He, along with his mentor, the previous Prime Minister Abe, also known to advocate the revision of Japan's wartime constitution, allowing Japan to rearm itself, not only to defend itself, but project its military influence in the region, as if on the grounds that Japan ought to be just like a normal country. But of course, that would rattle the stability in the whole region, nor would it be supported by the United States, because the last thing the United States want is to be tied to this anti-China chariot advocated by the new Prime Minister Takaichi. And that's why President Trump, when he was asked on a TV interview on this remark, and then he was indirectly was saying, well, the so-called allies are not always allies. They are milking America even to a larger extent than China. And of course, let's not forget that the United States recently have withdrawn the mid-range missile deployed on Japanese soil. The missile with mid-range missile can reach as far as Beijing and Shanghai, and that was withdrawn only recently, weeks ago, just to forestall the possibility of this new regime in Japan adopting measures which could engulf the United States in unwanted situations. So I think that this is, and also it's not just the party led by Takaichi. The kind of revisionism has a significant body of support among the Japanese public. And then there is an increasing animosity amongst the Japanese populace toward China. So that these are a number of dynamics involved. But as far as Beijing is concerned, there is no question that this kind of Japanese strategy can be allowed to continue without undermining this grand strategy of peaceful unification with Taiwan, at least by 2049, at the latest, by peaceful means where possible. And of course, the peaceful means has been enshrined in three white papers published by Beijing over the past decades. The last coincided with the provocative visit of Nancy Pelosi. How peaceful unification is going to be achieved, because most of the Taiwanese people do not support unification, nor do they dare to declare independence. But they just want the status quo to continue indefinitely. But that's not possible, because it is the wish of the entire Chinese people on the mainland and even abroad for Taiwan to be reunited peacefully. Now, the peaceful unification, there is a momentum being set in, first of all, by military coercion, if you like, or deterrence against any movement towards independence. Secondly, economic isolation. The Taiwan economy is increasingly dependent on China. Thirdly, people-to-people exchanges. There are already 300,000 Taiwanese people, together with their families, already working and living on the mainland. Of course, the situation of the mainland politically is somewhat different, but that's not the end of the world. And last but not least, there are lots of business opportunities for young Taiwanese people. For example, new films coming out of China, the TV serials feature Taiwanese directors, Taiwanese actors and actresses. So this people-to-people exchanges between the young people, between universities, between tourists, is likely to continue. So there are a number of key dimensions driving this momentum towards a negotiation for a peaceful solution. The last thing Beijing wants is for Takaichi's very unhelpful remark, which can rattle stability of the region and could potentially drag even the United States into an unwanted situation or consequences.
All right, so with that, I'd like to thank you for taking out time sharing your perspective with us on NewsX World. On that note, viewers, we're shifting focus away from what's taking place in East Asia towards what's happening in South Asia. We're now learning that Sheikh Hasina's son, Sajeeb Wazed, has alleged that the previous US administration spent millions of dollars on efforts to influence regime change in Bangladesh during the 2024 political unrest. In an interview, Wazed has mentioned that President Donald Trump himself revealed at a press conference that funds were channeled through US aid to support the protests that preceded Sheikh Hasina's ouster. Wazed, who now lives in the United States while Hasina remains in exile, has stated that the American approach has very distinctly changed under the current US administration, which he claims is now more focused on counterterrorism and rising extremism, Islamist extremism in Bangladesh. He's noted that the former Hasina government received no direct threats from Washington, though the US was the only country to issue a negative statement on the 2024 elections, recalling the July 2024 student-led protest that forced Hasina to flee amid violent clashes and the storming of her Dhaka residence. Wazed has expressed strong gratitude to India for ensuring her safety. Wazed has also dismissed the legitimacy of the Yunus-led interim government and condemned the death sentence handed to Hasina by Bangladesh's International Crimes Tribunal on the 17th of November. He alleged that the trial was politically manipulated, citing the removal of 17 judges, restrictions on Hasina's defense lawyers, and illegal amendments to fast-track the proceedings. He has stated that no extradition requests for Hasina can be valid without due judicial process, so something which he insists was entirely absent in the process for her conviction. This is the latest that we are tracking. We do know that Sheikh Hasina has been in exile ever since the protests that had taken place last year. And now her son has come out with an explosive allegation stating that the previous US administration, led by Joe Biden, spent millions of dollars on efforts to influence regime change in Bangladesh during the unrest that was witnessed. Her son, Sajeeb Wazed, has stated that Donald Trump himself revealed that funds were channeled through US aid to support the protests that preceded Sheikh Hasina's ouster. Wazed has stated that the American approach has very distinctly changed under the current US administration, which he now claims is more focused on counterterrorism and the rising Islamist extremism in Bangladesh. Meanwhile, he noted that the former government under Sheikh Hasina had received no direct threats from Washington, although the US was the only country to issue a negative statement on the boycotted elections that were held. Recalling the student-led protests that had forced Hasina to flee amid violent clashes and the storming of her Dhaka residence, Wazed has also expressed gratitude to India for ensuring her safety. He's also dismissed the legitimacy of the Yunus-led government and condemned the death sentence handed to Hasina by Bangladesh's International Crimes Tribunal on the 17th of November. On that note, there seems to be an issue connecting the guest. We will try to get that sorted. In other news, worsening air quality in India's capital, New Delhi, is now leading to a rise in health problems. Doctors are reporting surges in respiratory and pollution-related cases throughout the capital city. Now, as of this morning, air quality readings in New Delhi reached at least 239, which already comes under the category of very unhealthy. Moreover, some areas registered AQI figures of 400 or even more, which place them directly in the hazardous category. Listen in to what doctors have stated about this air crisis.
जो लोग पहले ठीक थे वो बीमार होए जा रहे हैं, जो बीमार थे वो और सीवियर बीमार हो रहे हैं, एडमिट होना पड़ता है कईयों की जान पे भी दिक्कतें आ जाती है। तो ये सब प्रॉब्लम्स अब हम देख रहे हैं। ऊपर से हार्ट की प्रॉब्लम्स, स्ट्रोक यानी ब्रेन अटैक जिसे कहते हैं, और भी चीजें जैसे स्किन की इश्यूज, स्किन के इन्फेक्शंस, आंखों के इन्फेक्शंस, नाक के इन्फेक्शंस, जो हमारी प्रेग्नेंट लेडीज हैं उनको इश्यूज होते हैं, वो रिस्क पे है। जो पैदा होने वाला बच्चा उसको रिस्क है, लो बर्थ वेट, उसके फेफड़ों का डेवलपमेंट और आगे का उसका मेंटल डेवलपमेंट, इन सब चीजों पे असर पड़ने वाला है और पड़ रहा है।
जो मरीज हमारे जैसे जनरल रूटीन दिखाने के लिए आते थे कि भाई उनको सांस की बीमारियां है, वो रूटीन आते हैं, अभी वो इमरजेंसी आ रहे हैं कि उनको हफ्ता से सांस की दिक्कत बहुत बढ़ गई है या 10 दिन से सांस की दिक्कतें बढ़ गई हैं। लगभग मैं ये कहूँगा कि मेरी ओपीडी में जैसे जो स्टेबल मरीज हम जिनको कहते हैं वो आते थे, उनका नंबर कम हो गया, और जो पेशेंट अभी बीमारी को बढ़ा के आ रहे हैं उनका नंबर बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया है। यानी कि हमको उनकी दवाइयाँ बढ़ानी पड़ रही हैं इस समय, क्योंकि उनको सांस की दिक्कतें।
Now, in response to the crisis, the Supreme Court has given the Air Quality Management Commission the authority to take any proactive measures to curb pollution in the Delhi NCR region. The court has also advised the Commission to consult stakeholders and take all parties on board. In a series of recent proposals, the Commission has suggested advancing some GRAP 4 restrictions, including work from home and 50% office attendance, to the current GRAP 3 stage. Other short-term measures which the Commission has deliberated on include staggered office timings, increasing public transport and metro services, and managing traffic congestion areas. Now, for long-term improvements, the Commission has reportedly suggesting reviewing electric vehicle policies while also restricting new coal-based power plants near New Delhi. With us on the broadcast is Mr. Vibhuti Rai, environmentalist, joining us from Lucknow. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX, where we debate and discuss the air crisis in India's national capital year after year after year, and it's the same story, it's the same statistics. It's every morning the residents of the NCR region have to wake up to the same site during this period when at the onset of winters. Despite these short-term measures, including changing the office timings or even certain long-term improvements such as bringing in EVs or restricting coal-based power plants, we do know what the issue is, and we cannot just simply shove it under the rug. The primary concern that people have is with the stubble that is being burned at a mass scale in the northern states, the wind that carries it over, which then eventually settles down over the national capital. in this particular context, why do we not see any sort of stringent action being taken, any innovative solutions being funded on the ground as far as Parali is concerned?
I'm not getting any sound.
Sir, can you hear me?
Studio, I'm not getting any sound, please, from the newsreader.
All right, there seems to be a connectivity issue. Let's get that checked from the PCR. In the meantime, of course, you can see the visuals on your screens. The health crisis is certainly worsening in India's national quality. Air quality index has spiked in certain levels. The figures of more than 400 have now also been witnessed. All right, I hope, Mr. Rai, you can hear me right now. Of course, I was mentioning, we discussed this year after year. There are short-term measures which are being deliberated on, changing the staggered office timings. Long-term improvements have been suggested, including electric vehicles, including, restricting the coal-based power plants. But as I was mentioning, the primary factor that we all know is the parali, the stubble that is being burnt in the northern states. It's being burnt at a mass scale. And, you can see the satellite images on the NASA firm's website as well. You can track them live every single day. This is the period where it flares up, which coincides with the fact that the air quality also spikes. So why do we not see any sort of political will to really take action when it comes to stubble burning?
Absolutely right. I think this is what is the reason, because NCR is surrounded by those districts of the states which has a lot of fields where they grow agricultural product, and parali, as you said, is one of the major reasons. But I think the other reason which the government should look into is the number of vehicles that are being sold in the NCR region. I think about 1 million vehicles are sold every year. And there's not much of those old vehicles which are being destroyed or have been, put in not into use. So the number of vehicles in NCR area is perhaps the most important reason to look into to contain the pollution during these months. I think about 1.5 months of, let's say, mid-October to mid-December. That's the time when there's huge impetus of parali-related pollution, the factors which are affecting the air quality, and also the vehicular traffic. I think the government or the court should take cognizance of it, because the lives of people are involved. Those who are at the brink of breathing troubles, they are really the worst sufferer. And secondly, the artificial rains that can actually reduce the air quality pollution is also to be put into action. I think a few weeks ago, the IIT Kanpur had done some experiments, but I think we have to have some commercial companies coming into effect. And China last week, about 10 days ago, has offered how they contained the 1913 pollution of the Chinese capital, Beijing, where it was still worse. So we must take the technical know-how and also help from commercial companies which can actually help in reducing the pollution, because lives and are involved, and this air quality is something which is it's persistently increasing every year. So we have to have a permanent solution, as you have rightly put up, and for that I think the government and maybe scientists of different departments can put in efforts how to reduce it and let people participate in it. If we reduce half the number of vehicles on the NCR roads, I think the air quality would certainly increase drastically. I remember during the Corona time when the vehicles were not allowed, the air quality has come down to the lowest level of less than 100 in the entire NCR region. So of course, you cannot do that. The second thing is we have to use more of the e-vehicles in NCR, and government should give some subsidy for people to utilize e-vehicles more and more. If it increases to 50% of the total vehicles, is going to impact in the quality of the air. I think these are some of the points. Of course, coal-based industry should entirely be removed from the NCR area if there are any. Also, other industries which are polluting the air quality should also be, put into action so that they either move to those areas where it's possible to have, open fields where the air quality may not much be affected. But in the heart of the area, it is very, very in NCR area. If there are industries, and they are there actually, and those are to be contained at least for these 2 months. That's my suggestion.
All right, sir. With that, I would like to thank you for taking out time, of course, putting forth your suggestions on NewsX World. On that note, viewers, we're tracking some rather tragic updates that are taking place in Japan. We're now learning that a fire has swept through more than 170 buildings in a southern Japanese coastal city, killing one person. Meanwhile, military units and firefighting helicopters have scrambled to contain what officials have described as the nation's largest urban blaze in nearly 50 years. The flames, driven by strong winds, also spread to nearby forested slopes and reached an uninhabited island located more than 1 kilometer off the coast. Now, according to Japan's Fire and Disaster Management Agency, the blaze had started on Tuesday evening, and it's burned about 48,900 square meters, which is roughly the size of 7 football fields, forcing 175 residents in Sagonoseki district of Oita City, which is about 770 kilometers in the southwest of Tokyo, to flee to an emergency shelter. With us on the broadcast is Dr. Satoru Nagao, fellow at the Hudson Institute, joining us from Tokyo. Thank you so much for taking out time speaking to us on NewsX World. This is a terrible, terrible tragedy that has taken place. So many houses have now been gutted in those rather chilling visuals. About 7 football fields, that's the size of the blaze that has been reported. There's been one tragic death that has now been confirmed by the authorities. I wanted to understand from you what exactly is taking place on the ground, because the blaze has been reported to be so severe that even military choppers had to be dispatched.
Yes, in Japan city, especially the old city, the houses are made by wood and the road is very narrow. So Japan is 70% covered by forest, and only 30% people are living in the city, or city, even if the village, they're located just between the mountains and the narrow place. So that's why road is very narrow and the houses are made by wood. So once fire has happened, it will spread very easily. And in this case, this time, the wind is very hard. So that's why it has spread very fast pace. Fortunately, only one dead. Because one 76 years old person live in the houses, and it was the venue of the fire. So that's why it was spread, and when the fire spread, he has already been dead, we expect. So that's why the other people, the people around the houses, around the house, has already escaped, even if they lost everything. So that's why this is fortunate, because only one person dead, and everyone evacuated very well. So that is good. But at the same time, these people lost most of the thing in the house, and still the fire is continuing, even if they stopped to spread. So some days later, they will return, but they cannot recover something from this burned house.
Indeed, and have there been any sort of estimates released as far as the economic losses of these people are concerned, or is the data yet to be revealed?
Indeed, this is a very local area. So main industry is just fisheries. It's main fishing is a main industry. So that's why indeed the total amount of the economic loss is very limited. This is not a big city, so this is the local area. So that's why my economic loss itself is not a big, but in this case, worry is recovery. Because quite local area means that there is no motivation to invest for recovering. So that's why there is a few possibilities that this village recover very soon because of the low motivation. So what happened in the other area is the example, because when the big earthquake and tsunami has happened in 2011, that was a very big tsunami, and many local areas has destroyed. But after that, if there is investment, they can recover. But most of the areas, the people do not have the motivation to invest because of the local area. So that's why they lost the chance to recover. So that could happen in the local area. So that is a concerning point.
All right, so with that, I'd like to thank you for taking out time, of course, sharing these details with us on the broadcast. On that note, we're tracking some breaking news coming in from South Korea. We're now learning that South Korean Prime Minister has ordered the mobilization of all available vessels and equipment for the swift rescue of passengers aboard a ferry that ran aground off the country's coast. The ferry, which had 267 people on board, is now not believed to be taking on water, and authorities have indicated no casualties at this time. South Korea's Coast Guard is coordinating the rescue operation, with officials now emphasizing the importance of preventing any loss of life. Prime Minister Kim has called for a prompt operation to ensure the safety of everyone on board. Shifting focus to what's taking place in Iran. Managing company Columbia Ship Management has confirmed that the oil tanker Talara, seized last week by Iran's Revolutionary Guards Corps, was released, and its 21-member crew is currently safe. They've been cleared to resume normal operations. The Talara was detained while sailing from a UAE port towards Singapore. Iranian authorities claimed that the tanker was carrying unauthorized cargo, although Columbia Ship Management has stated that no allegations were made against the ship, its owners, or its crew. According to maritime security firm Ambre, the Marshall Islands flag-led tanker was traveling through the Strait of Hormuz when it was approached by segment Primetime Asia. We will continue to track these updates very closely. On that note, we're dipping into a quick short break.